All right, today we are diving into an era of history that, and I'm not exaggerating here, literally redrew the map of the entire world. We're talking about the age of exploration. So, what was it? What could possibly drive an entire continent to risk everything and just sail off into the great unknown? Well, the answer might not be what you think.
I mean, really think about it. Imagine leaving everything and everyone you know to sail off the edge of a map that you believe is filled with giant sea monsters and world-ending storms. For about 2 centuries, that is exactly what thousands of Europeans did. So the big question is, why? What on earth could possibly be worth that kind of risk? That's what we're going to unpack today.
Now, on the surface, the answer seems pretty simple. Spices. Yeah, seriously. Europeans were desperate to find a direct sea route to Asia, mostly to get around the middlemen who were jacking up the prices on the lucrative spice trade. But as you're about to see, that was really just scratching the surface.
So, to get our bearings, when are we talking about here? This whole thing kicks off in the mid 1400s, a time when huge chunks of the globe were just blank spaces on a map, and it goes on for 2 full centuries, wrapping up in the mid 1600s. 200 years that would completely change the world, all because of a few really powerful ideas. Okay, so spices might have been the spark, but the fire itself was fueled by something way bigger. To really understand what was going on in this era, you just need to remember a simple little framework: the 3 Gs. The first G, God. You have to remember, back in the 15th century, religion wasn't just a part of life, it was life. European nations saw it as their sacred duty, their mission, to spread Christianity to every corner of the globe they could possibly reach.
The second G is gold. And we're not just talking about a few coins here. We're talking about the dream of finding mountains of silver, priceless new goods to trade, and entire continents full of untapped resources. All of it just seemingly there for the taking.
And finally, the third G, glory. This was the chance to become a legend. For the kings and queens, it was about building a massive global empire. And for the explorers themselves, it was a shot at immortality, having their names echo through the history books forever. So, God, gold, and glory. How did these three massive forces actually play out in the real world?
Well, that God motivation, it actually changed over time. Before 1517, before the Protestant Reformation, the big religious focus was on conflicts happening in and around Europe. But after the Reformation, everything shifted. It suddenly became this frantic race between Catholics and the new Protestant faiths to convert the people in these new worlds before their rivals could get there first.
The quest for gold also did a complete 180. At first, it was just smart business, right? Cut out the middlemen controlling the overland spice routes. But then, they stumbled upon the Americas. And the whole game changed. It went from being about trade to being about pure extraction: gold, silver, anything valuable that could be taken, often by any means necessary. So, who were the main players in this high-stakes global game? Well, 4 nations really led the charge. You had Portugal, who were the early pioneers, charting the course. Then Spain, right on their heels, trying to find a different path. And then you had the rising sea powers, England and France, jumping into the fray. And that idea of gold, it actually meant something a little different to each of them. For Spain, they hit the jackpot. They found incredible silver and gold mines in South America. For England, the wealth was in the vast natural resources and all that fertile land in North America. And France, they found their fortune in the incredibly profitable North American fur trade. And what about glory? Well, you could win that prize on a few different levels. There was glory for your king or queen, which solidified their power. There was glory for your country, which put it on the world stage as a major power. And, of course, there was personal glory for the explorer, a chance for a legacy that would last forever. So you end up with this perfect storm, right? This intense mix of religious mission, bottomless greed, and fierce national pride, all hitting at the exact same moment. What happens when you unleash a combination that powerful on the rest of the world? The result was colonization. The 3 Gs didn't just inspire people to go explore, they gave them the justification to dominate. It became about taking control of land, resources, and people, and building empires on a scale the world had never, ever seen before.
And let's be perfectly clear about this. The relentless quest for God, gold, and glory was the engine that drove colonization. It was the core reason, the fundamental justification for the conquest of the Americas, of Africa, and of parts of Asia. It's why the world map was about to be completely redrawn, mostly in the image of Europe.
So, you have to ask, was it truly an age of discovery? Well, for Europe, absolutely, no question. But for the millions of people who already lived in these so-called new worlds, it was an age of something else entirely. Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in to this explainer.